Hi, everyone. How are you? Welcome back. 2023 is here. Woo.
Hey.
Glad to be back. Well, we'll wait while we wait a few minutes, see if anyone else connects. Generally, this month in Latin America, at least, we are on summer holidays, and so it's people are away and things, but we'll wait a few more minutes. And meanwhile, maybe we can share our holidays. Did you had holidays? Probably they were colder than mine. Here in Argentina, oh my God, we're suffering a heat wave for weeks already. Drought and everything. Today's raining, luckily. So how's everyone?
Right.
Scotland freezing. Jeff, where in Atlanta?
Yes.
Is that snow on your window?
I was thinking just that.
No, it looks like it.
Not in Atlanta. No. I had to go up to New Hampshire last month to ski. We don't get snow down here very often.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Mhm. And is it cold or how's the weather over there?
35 degrees Fahrenheit
Okay.
right now.
Okay. I'm never good transforming that into Celsius degrees, so I'm just
Me
thinking.
neither. I wouldn't know what that means.
Okay.
I think it's like 2 or 3 Celsius.
Okay, well, that's cold.
So it's cold. It's almost
Oh.
freezing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. But you don't look freezing at all.
No, in fact, after this Zoom, I'm going to go out and chop wood outside.
Wow.
So you're really used to this weather.
Yeah. Well, it was much colder in New Hampshire last month.
Oh. Angeline, where are you right now?
I'm in Altea, Spain.
Okay.
Wow.
It's like between Valencia and Alicante.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's on the sea. It's it's a
Okay.
pretty little town.
Is it colder or the winter is going?
It's like 7, 8. So it's like it's about as cold as it gets here. So
Okay.
it's cold, but it's not like terribly cold.
Impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember being in Spain last August, and it was the heat wave. It was like 40 degrees, like Celsius degrees. It was
Ugh.
insane.
Yeah. It's definitely, yeah, we've had some hot summers, but it's so weird how like climate change is affecting different places. Like I was like 2 summers ago, I was in Spain, and then I went to Berlin, and it was
Yeah.
45 in Berlin, and it was like 30 in Spain.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
And
really crazy.
Germany is like, it's like England and other countries in the northern, Europe, where nobody's prepared for it to get hot. And so it gets hot, and then people get sick and they die because their homes, their bodies just aren't prepared to be.
There are like these problems with heat waves that I couldn't even imagine. And last year in Italy, there were like the train tracks. The metal was not prepared to be that hot and was melting.
Wow.
So I remember having a train canceled because the train tracks were
not solid.
Not possible because of the friction it has with the, I don't know how to say, the rail and the train. It just couldn't work.
Right, between the metal wheels and the metal
thank you,
tracks.
the wheels. I couldn't think about the word.
No, it's fine. It happens to me the same time in Spanish. I'm like, the round spinny thing.
The round thing that goes.
Well, Russ, I saw you had a birthday this week.
Oh yeah. Thank you. No,
Is it yesterday? Day before?
the day, like 2 days.
2 days,
Was
yeah.
it your
4
birthday?
days before. Yes, 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 yes.
Happy birthday. Should we sing?
Thank you. No,
Happy
it's good.
birthday.
It's over.
Should you sing to yourself?
Thank you.
How do you sing the happy birthday
Yeah,
in Philippines?
we sing it in English. So
Oh, really?
yeah. But if you are like a bit south of the Philippines, you can see if you speak a little bit of broken Spanish, then you sing it like yeah, broken Spanish, I guess.
Spanglish?
Eh, yeah. Because
Oh.
the Philippines had been speaking Spanish for like 300 years or something, but not anymore. Only in
Oh,
the south,
didn't know
there's like
that.
a small region. They call it the broken Spanish.
Look
Yeah.
at that.
But it's been raining. Yeah, it's been raining here for almost more than a month. So the farmers here are having trouble with harvest because they need that some rice are ripe for harvest, but they can't do anything. So hopefully tomorrow it will be sunny. And then back here in the farm, the other day I was in the city because the connection wasn't good. It's just, you can't get proper connection because of the rain. So
Yeah,
yeah,
same
but
thing.
today it's kind of good. Yeah,
Is it rainy season in this time of the year over
it's
there? Or is it
yeah.
extreme this
Well,
year?
it's almost it's supposed to be like getting into the summerish kind of a weather, but yeah, we were not expecting this much rain this month of January.
Mm.
And how is it in the Philippines with the new president? I was talking to people a while ago after the elections, and people were just freaked out.
Oh yes, including myself, and a lot of us were freaked out. It's affected a number. Well, not a number, but I guess a large, especially environmental art, cultural communities, because of the very obscure policy and plan for this sector. So yeah, we're trying to just really carry on the work locally as much as possible, and small pockets of creative happenings around, just to kind of keep the expression alive as well. So yeah, but it's, I guess, 6 months when the new president was installed, so we don't know exactly for the next 5.5 years,
Yeah.
but not so not so not so bright, but we'll bring the brightness. I would say.
Mhm.
Do you know Break Free from Plastic? There's it's a
Ye-
group, like it's a
Yeah,
okay, you do. Because I was gonna say if you
yeah.
want to, like, as far as like activism and funding around environmental stuff, they're quite good.
Yeah. Where I used to live, there's a strong break free from plastic organization. So yeah, we're good friends. So we're getting connected with them as well.
Welcome, Amalyn and Anne.
Hello, hi.
We were just catching up.
I think my camera's not gonna work, but
We can hear you perfectly well. No worries. Hey, we don't
Hi
hear
there.
you.
Oops,
There we go.
okay. Yeah, I was trying to get the camera and I turned off the mic. I can only stay on for a minute because I'm about to leave for a museum gig, but I just wanted to say that we were really inspired last year to have a pollinator festival in our community, and we're planning year 2. So, and actually the social media ITAC meeting was really helpful with some feedback about that. But I'm also, last year I did a installation in the local train station, the Saco Transportation Center, which is part of the Amtrak train line, on Earth Day month of April. So this year we're going to try to do an installation about cold water coral reefs, because there's a big exhibition that's going to be happening this month, opening this month at the Maine Maritime Museum up in Bath, Maine. That's a collaboration between a bunch of eco artists. So I'm hoping to like publicize that show too, but do also, it's kind of a reiteration of we participated in the International Community Art Project of the Crochet Coral Reef in 2013, I think. So we thought we'd revisit that since the reefs aren't, some of them are doing better, I think, but some of them are doing worse. So anyway, I just wanted to say that's the activity on my plate going forward, but I've got to run and like drive to Springfield. So nice to see you.
Thank you so much for passing by.
And I'll write up those events for everybody. And thanks for all your hard work and inspiration. So
thank you.
Yep. See you soon.
Well, should we start and if anyone joins through the meeting? Yeah. Well, first of all, I wanted to reintroduce, because she was here last meeting last year, Sol, and she's joining the team, the ITAC Climate Collective coordination team, and she will be leading actually this meeting today. Agustina is having some internet troubles and with the rain and the connection, just as we've been talking before. She was here like 10 minutes ago, and then she told us the lights went off, and well, anyway, so probably she'll be joining us during the meeting. But the idea of today was to basically think about last year, what we did, what we liked, what we would like to improve for this year, and tell you and share some ideas about a kind of agenda, an annual agenda, and hopefully invite you to collaborate and build this annual plan together with us. So if Sol, you want to get started, go ahead.
Of course. Yes, for sure. It's for us super important to get your expectations around this in order to be able to make the meetings with all the content you're expecting to see, and not just what we think you are expecting to see. So before that, we were thinking about making a quick recap of the 2022, but just in case there were new members joining, but I think we've all been through the 2022, so we'll make it really quick. We had the campaign about unmasking the climate injustice. Angeline, you had your video here. Have your video here. We also had special guests such as Russ. And it was the year we kind of rebooted the Climate Collective, and we set the basis in order to build a 2023 that's even better than it was. Also, during the 2022, we had people from all over the world joining our community. That's maybe why it's so difficult for us to join in a sense than this Zoom, because we have people, like for us, it's 11 in the evening right now, or is it even later? What time it is over there?
Oh yeah, it's 11:20 in the evening.
Like, it's kind of hard to get all to meet, but we are connected through the mailing, through the campaigns, through social media, and that's what we kind of need to reinforce also. And we have these spaces where as many as we can join, but we can't expect people at 2 a.m. from like Ghana. I can't even imagine what time it is right now. We have people from there too, but we are happy to join. And basically we can jump to the activity. I'll share a link with you that's to a Paddle. I don't know if you're familiar with that platform. Have you ever heard from Paddle and Jamboard? Jamboard, yes. Okay, we can then use Jamboard, that will be more familiar with you. I'll share it in the chat. Oh, sorry. everyone in the meeting. There we have the Jamboard. And that the idea is what Mary was saying, and I was just saying, we just want to know what you expect from this space, just to be able to create and invite and do whatever you are feeling up to this year, so that we can co-create this space and make it meaningful. So if you feel like it, so if you feel like writing down would be awesome, but we can also chat because we are all familiar faces. Why did you join the Climate Collective in the first place?
For myself, I type very slowly, so I would rather chat than
That's
fill in
perfect.
notes. Yeah.
So what was your motive, Jeff, for joining?
Continuity. I've been part of it from the start, and
Yeah.
I think it's a way to stitch together work that ITAC artists are doing in different places regarding climate crisis. And yeah, I mean, I am working on a project here in Georgia, but I feel like I can learn so much from, what Russ and others have been doing in other parts of the world strategically.
Okay, great. And what about you, Angeline? What were your motives?
So sorry, I was also trying to write in there.
Write
and I
out,
was
there's
struggling
no
with the text box, and it wasn't working out for me very well. I'm friends with Paloma Costa, and she was like, "Oh, this sounds like a great opportunity for you to connect with other arts activists." And so Amelin and I have been working on different projects for a while, and we thought it might be we're trying to take the Interweave project to a more professional level, and we're hoping to find projects to plug in with, and also in all honesty, like looking for ways to get paid for the work that we've been doing for a long time, unpaid.
Yeah. Okay. Mary, we are not seeing the Jamboard. Just
yeah, I'm also having trouble using the Jamboard, but yeah, I can go next. Similar to what Angeline said as well, we are part of Interweave. We have been working together. We're both climate activists, artists, and working around climate justice and many different intersectionalities, and using this network and sharing what we have, learning what we can, and at the same time, seeing how our different projects can maybe plug into ITAC and maybe get better funding as well, because like Angeline mentioned, both of us have been doing things very much underpaid before. So unifying and putting things together with structure through Interweave and through the projects we're doing, I think, this is kind of why we're with Interweave.
Great. Russ, would you like to share your motive too, or?
Yeah, well, in addition to the rest of the sharing, it's like in the Philippines, in my context here, I feel that we sometimes feel a bit isolated as creatives doing the work. On the other hand, it's now that there's an opportunity to be part of a global network, I feel it's enhancing also that sense of some, the word is hopefulness to continue the work on the ground, while on the other hand, there's always that kind of exchange with creatives like Jeff, the ITAC folks that I met during the conference, Also hearing stories from Angeline, for example, that sort of like kind of also emanate some sense of idea and vision as well that somehow can be applied in the local projects here. So yeah, it's just good to feel also to be part of a warmth energy of ITAC folks. Like it's very inspiring the works that's been done by a lot of the teaching artists in this group. It's
Yeah, and that's so important because as the context, maybe our context in the world gets a bit darker or it gets a bit complex, to have these spaces where you can get inspiration, get like hopefulness, get brightness, get ideas, like being the activist part besides from the art. It's also very hard to stay motivated because you see the problem, you see how it gets worse, and it's very important to stick together in order to get the motivation and hold each other up. So yeah, I think that's the reason why I'm here. I kind of like, I really need to stay connected with people that see the same concerns that I see, and that are as motivated as I am to do something about it. So that when I don't know, I just can join here, get the energy up, and keep fighting. So into expectations, I think funding for work is the main one that came up, but are you thinking about any other expectation we might not have mentioned and you like us to take into consideration this year? Let's be creative together. That's a nice one. Maybe getting to know other artists from the community or even from outside the community. Are you interested in the work of anyone in particular, or any kind of work in particular? Yes.
Well, I think a lot of us work with youth, and I was just reading an article this morning about how to talk with young people about climate crisis, where you're not simply freaking them out, because there's a lot of psychology coming to this that's needed, that's happening now about climate distress. And so I'm aware when I work with young folks that if we hit them with too many dire facts all at once, that it doesn't motivate them to think of themselves as activists or to make art that can affect change. It just makes them sad. Yeah. So I think that we can help each other to and maybe I could even share the link for this this article. It was pretty well written, I thought. But I think a lot of us have found ways to be with youth and to make art with them as a way to be engaged with hard things. But that's something we can always learn more about.
Yeah. That's I think we even have a term for a definition for that. That's eco-anxiety.
Right. Yeah. And so yesterday and the day before, Pat Cruz, who's been involved with ITAC for a while. In fact, I met her 10 years ago at the first ITAC conference in Oslo. And she has an organization that she calls TEACH, Transcontinental Educator Artists Collective for Humanity. And it is intended to bring together science educators and other educators with teaching artists to create creative teams and address climate crisis around the world. And she had her online conference this week. Yesterday, Francine Kleiman, who presented in Oslo, also presented as part of the Teach conference. Actually, they came up with a name, all these combined words that people love. Equilibrium, she called this conference. Equilibrium. But having seen, I interviewed Francini for ITAC's Climate Cafe a while ago, and then seeing her present and get to know her in Oslo, there was a new layer to what they're doing with Simon Sharkey that they were talking about, which is a virtual reality environment where, because there's this kind of a science fiction time travel aspect to the project they do with the young people in Brazil, they now have it where you can be in this three-dimensional world online. And that's very interesting that they came up with that, because part of the conference, the end of the day, both days this week of the Teach conference, Pat had invited this group that have a virtual environment for community building, where you are represented by a sphere. And so all of us became spheres and zoomed around in this, pretend world. I wasn't so sure that it was effective for community building at the level that we were in it. But it was kind of like, they called it the party. So we all smoked and drank and rolled around in balls.
Sounds fun.
Metaphorically. But, but I'm talking about this because it's interesting to me that it came up twice in this conference midweek this week, that, although a lot of us, talk about being zoomed out and, oh God, one more online webinar. But I think that we talk about engaging youth, digital natives. There is another layer of engagement that we might think about and learn more about, which are these virtual environments.
Yeah, that's like a whole other dimension for me. And I think it's a challenge that we need to take in, because digital natives, for them, is like, it'll become natural and it's a new platform. So we were thinking in the organization of this year about asking Francine and asking Pat to come into the PD sessions and the climate cafes. What do you think about that? Would it be a good idea?
Oh, yes.
Right. Because this reality, this meta world people start talking about, for me, I don't understand anything. I need someone to explain that to me.
Yeah, I don't love it, but I'm 65, so.
The world keeps changing, but I think no matter where we take the message to, the message keeps the same, that we need to focus that although the data is becoming more and more, not only solid, but preoccupating, like concerning, and there's this line of action. We can still change it. Climate change says, the science says, yes, it's complicated, but we can still do it. We just need to take action, like take that message of hopefulness that we can still do something, and what everyone does matters, and massive change starts with individual change, and that's where we can focus on. I think that's a really important message to take to youth. So I think it's nice, I'm thinking out loud, but to work on the two levels, on what do we want to say, and where and how we want to say it, like bring the hopefulness in this meta world with a digital environment, social media, I don't know, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook is kind of like, I don't know if young people even have Facebook profile. And Amelie and Jeline, Russ, is there anything else you are thinking about that comes up with everything Jeff just said?
Yeah, well, because here I work with the farm community, and I've been thinking like the idea of VR and stuff, but I feel we're not I guess the community is not ready for that, because in terms of accessibility of technology is not yet there.
Right.
Yet somehow there seem to be, like I've noticed, there's always an aspiration for them to get a smartphone. So uh my we're thinking that perhaps we can utilize it as more like a documentary kind of a instrument. So yeah, this last 2 months ago we held children and youth camp here, and we've introduced like we've shown some short films and stuff, and they're kind of interested to make films. So we're kind of working around that, so that somehow maybe they can utilize it as a form of documentation, like more of storytelling, if they can talk with their grandparents or some farm workers here and talk about stories about weather and things like this. So kind of extracting stories in the community and see how we can compile and probably eventually create sort of like a children's film festival, something like that, where everyone can really see their faces and have this kind of, I guess, sense of pride as well, in the community, especially with their families and grandparents, and so hopefully sometime this summer we can sort of like go for that, because I'm really interested with augmented reality and stuff, but somehow because of the accessibility is not yet here. um we see the filming documentation part could probably be an introduction to the use of the smartphone, because the reason why they want to have a smartphone is they want to play online games.
Yeah.
So it's also like a problem in the school here, because the teachers were asking, you guys are taking so much of your time playing games. So we hope to kind of create another way to utilize the tool, and eventually carry over the storytelling about climate, the climate project here.
Wow, that sounds really interesting.
Yeah, great.
If you do have something about that, if you feel like it too, we would love to share it on the newsletter. I mean, also the article you were mentioning, Jeff, I think.
Okay.
Maybe, yeah, you can even use the smartphone as the camera to film your grandparent, to tell the story, and not just this. And there are a lot of good videos, like short films showing how the phone is this, I don't know how to say it in English, but that traps you and keeps you down and distracts you from reality. There are a lot of good videos about that too. I can't remember, there's one particular artist is very good with it. I'll try to find it, and I'll send it to you, because that's also a theme to talk with you, like the phone keeping you away from what's really happening.
Yeah.
Angelina, are you thinking about something?
Well, I was interested in what Jeff was saying as far as the article that he mentioned about talking about climate change with youth. I would love to read that. And I was also going to see if you could share the link, or link some information about Teach. I didn't get that whole acronym because it was so long. And I think if I just look up Teach, I'm going to come up with everything but that.
Yeah.
Well, if you could throw it in the chat, that would be awesome.
I will. Sure. Yeah.
And I was also thinking about what Roz was saying, and I was just in Valencia, and there was an art show that was really interesting. It was all about it was interviews with women who are working in domestic services, like as caretakers, as doing childcare, cleaning, and it was really an interesting And if you want, Roz, I can see if I can, I don't know if it would fit so well with what you're doing, but I might be able to find some photos of it. But it was a really neat mix between, they didn't actually do video, but they had an illustrator. The illustrator and then the primary researcher were working together. And so there was a lot of illustrations. Some of it was really like blown up to mural size with the illustrations. And there was also small ones. And then a lot of, and you could listen to the interviews. And then there was also like, because different articles about like domestic work in the 1970s. And there was like a comic making fun of, you know, immigrant domestic workers in the Franco era. And all of, it was a really neat interactive art show. And it had like access to the information in a lot of different ways through the illustration, through the video, etc.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, sure. I'll probably leave my email here. So
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I can send you a link.
go.
Great. Annalyn, are you feeling like sharing something, or am I just like, oh, we have Anne also. Hi, Anne. I don't know if they can listen to us. When they feel up to, they'll share their expectations. But I'm also seeing, Madeline, you shared on the chat this project of Powell.
Yeah, it was just while you were talking about VR and AR projects. And Powell is one of our commissioned impact artists this year for ITAC Impact Climate, and has just some really fabulous expertise in that area. And I will not try and describe the project that they're doing, because I'm sure I will absolutely butcher that if I try to. But I know that it has to do with working with young people in the AR space to explore choices around climate, like individual choices that we might make, and consequences, and what would reality look like 10, 20 years from now? Where would the sea level be? What might this community hall look like if we all did this versus if we did that? And I know it's a really interesting approach that he's experimenting with just now. So I've shared the project page, which has a little video about his work, but I'm sure if you were to seek him out on social media, that would be the place to see everything Powell's up to. But I'm always in awe of people who think in that tech space, because my head doesn't naturally go there. So it's very cool.
We can bring him up as well. That would be awesome.
I think he's in our mind as a future speaker. So I have a hunch that we're bringing him in at some point to talk to us.
Great. And just before we leave this, talking about what we would like to explore, what topics, which speakers, which guests, is there anything else you would like us to change or rethink or do differently this year that might be useful, or you just think it would be nice to add?
I mean, I had some feedback about the video stuff, if you're interested in it.
Of course.
So yeah, so I made the video and I didn't hear anything back at all about it. I didn't hear how it was being shown. I didn't hear when it was being shown. And then I got an email saying, the people who submitted videos are going to be speaking at a one of these climate talks tomorrow. And I was like, oh, I submitted a video, but maybe you didn't select it or something, because I never heard anything back. And then they were like, oh, well, you can come and talk tomorrow. And I was in Paris working on another commission. And so I did this really just kind of really embarrassing presentation. And I say it was shit objectively, like it was, and I'm okay with it. But talk about this video that I made, and had I had some notification, even though I was abroad working on another commission, I would have. And especially because it was all volunteer work that I did just for this, it would have been great to have been able to be plugged in on social media, like so that there was some reciprocity.
Okay. I remember your presentation being the first meeting I was in last year, so I remember it quite gratefully. I remember saying, wow, that's amazing. But it's true what you're saying. And I think if you feel like it, we might be able to make amends with that and maybe share it this year, making a quick, like a recap of what it was and share the video and get an opportunity again, if you're feeling like it, to prepare yourself and share it the way you would have liked it. What do you think about that?
I mean, yeah, I think that would be great. And I think it would also be, I mean, Amalyn and I are doing a lot of other things that might be more interesting than the video,
Okay.
in all honesty. And I think that one thing that would really help us too, as far as reciprocity, is access to the social network, the social media network. And because we've done a lot of projects, but neither one of us is very social media savvy. And so, you know, we made an Instagram last month. And so it would be super helpful, I think, because like I'm doing a collaboration with a 20-year-old in London, and she's like, nobody my age has Facebook. and,
Right.
And I have Facebook. And I'm
okay.
And I'm in the 20s still. I'm about to leave them, but I have Facebook.
Okay, you may be on like the cusp, like the older 20s might still have it, and then the younger 20s are like, Instagram is the way. Yeah. But yeah, no, that's great, and I really appreciate that, Sol. It would be nice to find, to find a way to do something with it, or like, I don't know. I mean, if there's even like a group of young people who might be interested in doing the trash jellyfish, like as a workshop, it's something that we did with Koi at one of the COP conferences, and also with Women in Gender group for the COP in Madrid. We had the jellyfish for the feminist march, and since it was an evening march, it was really nice to have the light up trash jellyfish to attract. So I mean, yeah, it would be great to do something, maybe with the videos, maybe with the jellyfish. Y'all can think about it and then just let us know.
Of course, and with any other project that I think it's Mary, because she's reading my mind, this suggestion of showing and sharing our work with each other might be, I think it's the base of why we're here, to stay together, to get inspired, to show ourselves, to make community. So thank you, Angeline, for bringing that up. And I want to reinforce that I was there, and it was super good, your presentation. It wasn't embarrassing at all, and it was really nice work. At least that's my memory of it.
I appreciate that. I would have done it differently had I had time, but I am also can be hard on myself. So the feedback is useful to be like, maybe it wasn't as humiliating as it was in my mind.
It wasn't humiliating at all, and we'll get the opportunity for you to do the things as you like to do it. And is there anybody else that wants to bring something about the meetings and the structure, activities, something that we are not putting in there?
I'd like to say something more about funding, or being on the hunt for funding. For one thing, Anne popped in from Maine up in New England here in the US briefly. Her name is still on the screen. She said she was driving to a gig. So, but I appreciate this being ITAC, that I think at this moment, I am the only person in the US on this Zoom. And that's meaningful to me, because when I did a think tank, I ended up with the group that stayed together in my working group being all continental US artists, and that was not okay with me. Even though they're lovely artists, I want to operate internationally as part of these discussions. And so I'm not sure what I'm going to mention is useful outside of the US, but maybe in a general sense it is. There was a training, I did a 3-hour webinar 2 days ago, like after being on the conference with Pat Cruz and them all morning, then all night I was on this other webinar. there was a group called Art Train, and co-presenting with another group from the Midwest in the US called Springboard for the Arts. And what they were trying to spread the word about was that this funding that is called American Rescue Plan Federal COVID Relief Funds. Now, why would artists be interested in the fact that there's billions of dollars sitting that has not been allocated yet, that are these, American Rescue Plan COVID relief funds? But it turns out these people have done they're checking into all of this, and artists are absolutely eligible to receive support to do community events with this money. And I think a lot of people think, oh yeah, well, we had all this COVID relief money early in the pandemic and it got used for schools and all kinds of, stuff. But apparently billions of dollars here in the US has been allocated and not used. It's just arts councils have it and city governments have it, and they don't necessarily know what to do with it. So this was a 3-hour webinar for artists to say to artists, go ask about this, because you might do community events that are considered healing. And those may very well deal with climate, environmental justice concerns. So that was not at all on my radar to, if I think about funding, and I'm currently looking for funding to be able to execute the project that my little slice of the pie that went to the Africa US work group. That's a spinoff of ITAC that is a bunch of artists in African countries, a bunch of artists in the US. And we applied as a group for one of the ITAC climate crisis grants and got this lovely letter back. Madeline, I don't know who composed the letter, but it basically said to this group, you don't fit this program. You broke all the rules in your application, but what you're doing is so juicy that we found another way to support it. So then, that's great, except that means we take a grant and we slice it up amongst, a bunch of artists. Now, a small slice of that grant can go a long way for some of the artists in some of these African countries. For me in the US, it amounts to a planning grant. So I traveled down to the seacoast, to the Georgia seacoast, which is about 5 hours from here, and did that planning and got everybody excited about this sea level rise study project with a floating environmental sculpture. And I'm not going to describe it, but they're all ready to go. And then, of course, the rest of the story is I don't actually have a residency grant. So I'm sort of shaking the trees where I live to see how I can get that supported. Probably going to write a grant soon to the State Arts Council, an art education grant. So there's different ways that we tend to think of going that have traditionally supported visiting artists or teaching artists. And so something like this COVID relief money, I never even would have thought of it. So I tell that story to say that, wherever you are, it's possible that there are grants that don't look like they are a fit for us as teaching artists because they're not arts education grants. But that, because of the way we work with communities, many governments may actually see fit to, think of us as eligible.
Well, that's good. I always say that I won't be the one saying no to myself. So I always applicate for everything. And then they're the ones that get to say no, but I won't say no to myself. So I think it might fit in that description, but that's good to try to focus a bit more on finding and sharing fun opportunities and maybe creating a space where anyone that finds something can say, hey, I don't know if it works, but here it is. That's good. Well, that's a lot of ideas to work on.
And Jeff, do you have any links to that or that video? Because I'm in Spain, but I'm a U.S. citizen with an address in the U.S.
Yeah.
So it might be possible.
I could look it up, but I think if you just Google art-train, you'll find what they do and what they just did.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'll look that up then.
Yeah.
Right. Just because I want to be respectful with time, especially now with Russ, you are I think you want to go to sleep. It's almost midnight over there. Just a quick overview on what the year it's going to be like for us. So from all the things we've talked about, we are going to try to bring up 4 topics for this year. Maybe sea level, maybe climate justice, maybe youth, from all the things we've been talking, and each month having the same, we'll keep the same format, the PD session and the climate cafe, to kind of like bring a special guest and someone like Powell or Pat or Francine who can like share the project and get us inspired and get ideas. And then the climate cafe where we can maybe focus on sharing our work, maybe doing a workshop, sharing funding, sharing how the experience applying to funding is like. So basically this is what it will look like in general. We'll get the details worked up with everything you've shared with us. And then on the next meeting, that'll be February 24th, maybe we can share more specifically the annual planning and hear from you what you feel, if you like it or not, and if you wanted us to make any changes. So how that sounds. Is it okay with you for us to do the next meeting February 24th, taking everything and working on annual planning and share it with you based on these ideas? Right.
Yeah, I can't come the 24th, but I think that, you know, like trying to adjust to everyone's schedules will get ridiculous and chaotic. So
and I won't forget, Angelina, we'll get a special space for your video, and we'll take everything and start working with you to get this year up and going and make it a great 2023. Thank you for joining. Thank you for sharing. Everything you've said has been really inspiring, and I'm grateful for this hour we've shared.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. See you
next time.
Next time. Okay.
Thank you. See you next time.
Thank
Bye.
you.